Carbon-14 in diamonds. Why talk origins? Is wrong and what it means for the age of the Earth. There's a serious issue that the website Talk Origins tries to dismiss, but it won't go away. The presence of carbon-14 in diamonds. They act like this is a non-issue. However, it poses a significant challenge for anyone who believes the Earth is billions of years old. What is carbon-14? Carbon-14, written as C14 or carbon-14, is a radioactive form of carbon. It has 6 protons and 8 neutrons, giving it an atomic mass of 14. It's unstable, so it breaks down over time at a predictable rate. Its half-life is about 5,630 years. This means that after 5,630 years, half of the carbon-14 in a sample is gone. After another 5,630 years, half of that remaining half is gone, and so on. After about 100,000 years, there shouldn't be any detectable carbon-14 left in a sample. It should all be gone. That's why finding measurable carbon-14 in diamonds is such a big deal. Why diamonds are supposed to be too old for carbon-14? Diamonds are formed more than 100 miles below the Earth's surface, deep in the upper mantle. They're not made from decaying plants or animals. They're created under extreme heat and pressure and later brought to the surface through volcanic activity. Evolutionists believe these diamonds to be 1 to 3 billion years old. Now here's the problem. Carbon-14 doesn't last more than a few thousand years. If a diamond were truly even 1 million years old, it should have 0 carbon-14 left in it. But we're still finding measurable amounts. That's not a little problem. It's a central contradiction. What the tests show: scientists, including those who don't hold to a biblical worldview, have tested diamonds and found that they contain carbon-14. A peer-reviewed paper by Irvin Taylor and John Southon, published in Nuclear Instruments and Methods in Physics Research, 2007, confirmed the presence of carbon-14 in natural diamonds. Their results showed levels of radiocarbon that correspond to an age of about 55,000 years. That number still doesn't align with the biblical timeline, but it undermines the claim that these diamonds are over 1 billion years old. The contamination excuse falls apart. Talk.Origins and others try to explain this away by blaming contamination. That's their go-to answer, but it doesn't work. The diamonds in these studies were carefully cleaned, sealed, and tested using accelerator mass spectrometry, AMS. AMS is designed to measure radioactive isotopes at the atomic level with extreme sensitivity. These tests are reliable and thorough. On top of that, diamonds are incredibly hard and chemically resistant. Their crystal structure doesn't allow for outside carbon to seep in. They're some of the most protected natural structures we know of, so contamination from outside sources is highly unlikely. Some have suggested that surrounding radioactive materials like uranium could somehow generate carbon-14 inside the diamonds. But the math doesn't work. There simply isn't enough nitrogen in the diamonds, and the radiation levels aren't high enough to produce the amounts of carbon-14 that are being found. Why creationists aren't surprised. This whole situation is a disaster for those who believe in an ancient Earth, but it's precisely what young Earth creationists would expect to find. If the Earth is only a few thousand years old, as the Bible teaches, then carbon-14 should still be detectable in diamonds, coal, and even fossils. And that's precisely what the evidence shows. Radiocarbon dating assumes that the ratio of carbon-14 to carbon-12 in the atmosphere has always been the same. But if there were a global flood, as described in Genesis, that event would have buried massive amounts of carbon-based life. This would have drastically altered the carbon ratio in the atmosphere. So when scientists today measure the remaining carbon-14 in these materials and assume a constant ratio, they're starting with a bad assumption. That leads to inflated age estimates. The real problem is